What if the reason you are burnt out isn't because you need more rest? I know. I know it sounds crazy, but stick with me here because today the conversation is all about why rest isn't fixing your burnout. Let's go. What is up? I'm Natasha Bryant. I am a licensed mental health professional, execution strategist, mental wellness workplace speaker, and I'm here to help you learn how to scale without sacrificing yourself. Because listen, success should not cost you, should never cost you your sanity. And today we're talking about burnout and how many times that burnout is causing you to feel crazy, causing you to lose your sanity. But before we get into all that, let's get to business first. You already know what time it is when we talk about business. I need for you to subscribe. My YouTube channel is in the process, the green stages of growth, and I need for you to help it grow. So please subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you like anything mental health, wellness, mental wellness, this is the place for you. If you want to learn how to scale without losing yourself, this is for you. And make sure you follow me. Follow me on social platforms at Speak Like Transformation, so we can be able to stay connected. Now, like I mentioned before, this is all about helping you understand what burnout is, helping you understand what causes burnout, but then also help you be able to start to make different choices and decisions so that you don't lead to burnout. So you don't create opportunities and situations that cause you to experience burnout. First things first, though, what is burnout? Now, many people talk about burnout. I'm specifically talking to those high achieving women, those high performing professionals. Let's talk about what burnout actually looks like for you. And I want you to think about if you're experiencing any of these. This is just some examples, right? One is emotional exhaustion. Emotional exhaustion is when you just don't have the emotional capacity or the emotional energy to even just connect with your emotions. There could be something good happening, and you're just like, I don't even have the energy to celebrate. I just want to sit here and just sit. I can't even get excited. I don't have the emotion. I don't even have the energy. And or there may be moments of sadness or disappointment, dissatisfaction. And you're like, I can't even cry about it. I'm tired of crying. I cried too much. I'm done with the crying. I can't even cry. I have no tears left. Right? That's emotional exhaustion. Or maybe what you're experiencing is cynicism, which is where everything just is like viewed in negative point of view, right? Where you're like, I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop. Like I know things are going good now, but let's see how long that happens, right? Or you assume the worst, right? You're already assuming that something bad will happen. So you're anticipating the bad. Another example of this is where when negative things do happen, you fixate and hyper focus on those negative things. See, this is why I don't do dot 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 fill in the blank, right? This is why I don't trust because every time I try or every time I do, then this thing happens, something bad happens, right? And then so you can't get past the disappointment. You end up sitting in the disappointment, right? And all of that then leads to you not being able to be effective. Burnout is also where you find yourself not being able to be effective. One, either you are so emotionally exhausted, right? And you're so stuck in the negativity of the things that you don't even want to try. You're like, this is what they get. This is look, they get what they get and don't get upset. Right. I'm not giving no more of my time, I'm not giving no more of the energy. And so your work, the things you used to usually do are not effective because you're choosing to give the bare minimum, right? Or you're genuinely trying to do your best, but you just don't have it in you. Like your best is the bare minimum. and you're not able to be effective. And sometimes you're not able to be effective because burnout does impact the way we think, right? You might have this cognitive fog where you're struggling with processing information. You're not able to think fast or problem solve like you used to. You're becoming forgetful, right? There's a lot of fatigue, lack of sleep, all impacting your cognitive abilities. And so you're just really physically just not able to be as effective as you usually are. So that's what burnout can look like, right? Can we talk about why self care isn't working when it comes to addressing burnout? As I mentioned before, I am a workplace mental wellness speaker. And what that means is that I partner with organizations to provide mental wellness workshops on like burnout prevention and mental resilience. And one of the presentations that I do is teaching professionals how to see self care differently, how to see self care beyond the spa days, beyond the vacation days, beyond the exercise, the workout, right? Because self care is more than that. And the reason why self care isn't working is because a lot of times the things that you're choosing to care for yourself in moments of burnout are just for a temporary relief. I was literally just talking to a client about this the other day. She's feeling burnout, feeling emotional exhaustion. And she was like, my friend was telling me, like, just focus on this good thing that's happening in your life. She had something good that was happening in her life. And so she's like, yeah, so I try to focus on that. And then I still feel stressed. And I was telling her the reason is because you're not actually addressing what is causing the stress. You're just trying to put this band aid on it by having this positive thought of gratitude about this good thing of happening. But that gratitude is not helping you solve what's causing you or helping you address what's causing you to feel emotionally exhausted in the first place. Right. And so self care is not going to work if you are not being intentional about what you're engaging in when it comes to self care. You can go on the vacation, right? But if you're feeling exhausted because all the tasks you have to do, when you come back from the vacation, those tasks are still going to be there. So an example of effective self-care is, let's use that example. So let's say what's causing exhaustion is the fact that you have too many things on your plate. You are being the responsible one for all the household chores, the responsible one for all your family's tasks and activities, and you just don't have the time and the energy. And then you still have to take care of work, right? Now, going on vacation is not going to solve the problem that you keep taking on all these responsibilities or you are being seen as the one to take on all these responsibilities. That's still not solving that problem. What would solve that problem, though, is delegation. So when you do go on vacation, you already know, oh, such and such was assigned that job, that role, they're now taking care of it. Or when you're at work, when you go on vacation, you can be able to relax and not feel guilty that work is left at work and other coworkers or partners have to take on some of the things that you left behind. There's no guilt about that because you've delegated and said, hey, while I'm going, can you take care of this? Then you're able to actually enjoy your vacation. So the point is, self-care isn't just having a spa day. Self-care isn't just getting your hair and nails done. Self-care isn't just, hanging out with friends. Self-care, when you're being intentional, is more than that. Self-care is delegation. Self-care is boundary setting. Self-care is time management. Self-care is organization. Self-care is self-discovery. Those are all forms of self-care, and those are the ones that really intentionally address the stressors that's causing the burnout in the first place. Now, let's go into the hidden causes of burnout. What actually causes burnout? Well, there are these habits. I call them 3 Ps. If you've been a subscriber to the Speak Like Transformation TV YouTube channel, then you already know because I have a few videos on this. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe and go back to the library and look at the catalog because I go into depth about these 3 habits. And these are habits that will, sabotage your whole level of rest. You're not going to be able to rest if you're people pleasing. That's habit number one. Rest isn't fixing burnout because you're engaging in people pleasing. How can you rest when you're worried about if people are going to be upset about you resting? How are you going to rest when you're playing in your mind a comment that somebody made about you taking off of work? And you're worried that are they upset with me? Do they think that, are they gonna, are they gonna want me to come back? Or are they gonna is my boss gonna fire me because I took some time off, right? Or is my friends gonna be upset because I said no to going out with them? I just want to stay at home, right? How can you rest if you are worried about upsetting other people? You can't. You can't. There is no resting. And each of these behaviors, these habits I'm going to share with you, I'm going to bring out the clinical aspect because remember, I am a licensed mental health professional. And so I'm going to bring out the clinical work as well. The reality of these behaviors, it's not that they're like horrible, bad, and you should be ashamed of yourself about these things. No, the reality is that these habits have created a sense of safety for you. They are protecting you from the thing that is scary for you or that you fear the most. And when it comes to people pleasing, what it's creating safety from is people upsetting you, people being upset with you. It's preventing you from, it's creating a safety from conflict. It's creating a safety from rejection. It's creating a safety from not being accepted. Because if I just please everybody, make everybody happy, being around me, being happy with me, then they're never going to want to reject me. They're never going to want to leave. They're never going to think that I am not worthy of their love. But then that leads you to managing their emotions because now you're trying to control or manage how they feel when they're around you. And that is stressful. The second habit. The second habit is proving. Proving is where you go above and beyond in anything that you do because you're trying to prove that you belong. You are trying to make sure that nobody has any negative thoughts about how you show up. You're trying to control and prevent how people perceive you. You're trying to make sure people have a positive perception about your work ethic, about your intelligence, about you deserving to be in the spaces that you're in. And so it's creating this false sense of safety because it's saying what this belief is saying is that if I go above and beyond, if I'm always excelling, if I'm at the top of the class, right? If I'm number one, if I'm always showing up, if I'm saying yes to everything and always being reliable or dependable, if I'm always showing that I can handle everything and anything, right? Then nobody will ever doubt my skill set. No one will ever doubt that I do not belong in these spaces. And again, there's no resting in that because you're constantly busy doing them. You're not going to rest because you don't feel like, oh, I can't, because you're going to feel like I can't stop moving because I got to constantly prove that I belong here. If I just sit down and not do anything, then people are going to think that I'm being lazy. People are going to think that I don't know what I'm talking about. People are going to think that I don't actually I'm not a hard worker. So you're constantly moving. So no rest is happening there. Lastly, the next one is perfectionism. Perfectionism creates a sense of safety in the idea that if I do everything perfect, then I will never fail. There's only success on the other side. And if I do everything perfect, then I do not leave any room for anybody to judge me or see my imperfections that I know I actually have. And so it causes you to constantly overthink, trying to do everything perfect, cross every T, dot every I. It also causes you to not move until you have this 100% certainty that there's going to be success on the other end. It also leads to you trying to control everything, where you end up taking on all the responsibilities for a lot of things because you want it done, quote unquote, right. And you can't trust that someone else is going to do it the way you would do it. You cannot trust that someone else is going to do it and get it right, where enough to the point where you're going to get the outcome that you are looking to receive. And so you end up just taking over everything. And you don't accept help, you don't ask for help. And again, how are you going to rest with that? How are you going to rest if you're trying to lead everything? You're trying to be the leader in everything. How are you going to rest? How are you going to rest if your mind is constantly thinking about what are all the possible outcomes that could happen, so you can make sure you prevent those outcomes by doing things perfectly so you can get the actual outcome you want? How are you going to rest? You're not. You're not going to rest. You're not. You're not. And so all these habits lead to overfunctioning. You end up doing too much all the time. It also leads to over responsibility. It leads to you trying to manage other people's emotions. It leads to you carrying responsibilities that was never yours to carry in the first place. And it leads to over accessibility, where you're giving people access to you who don't deserve access to you. You're giving people access to you who don't even need to have that much access to you. And that's where the burnout all comes from. As you can see how the burnout begins to develop and then explodes, right? There is, so within my Scale Without Sacrifice method, because the whole method is powered by two different frameworks. One of those frameworks is the FIRE framework. And the FIRES is an acronym. The F in FIRE stands for finding your essence. And what that is all about you figuring out, who are you? And who is the version you want to become? And how you're showing up right now, is that helping you get closer to becoming that person? Or is it creating a gap, preventing you from even getting close to becoming that person? And so I do a lot of work helping people do that internal work to figure out how to make sure you are becoming that version of yourself that you want to become. And one of the questions that you need to answer to help you discover that is, who are you outside of performance? The reason I'm asking that question is because everything I listed, the different habits and the false sense of safety that I mentioned for proving, pleasing, and perfecting, all those things, if you notice, was connected to performance. How well am I performing at making sure people are pleased with me? How well am I performing at proving to people that I do belong? How well am I performing at perfecting everything that I do? And based on how well you do that, you are then determining your worth and your value. Based on how people are responding to you, based on your performance, you're determining your worth and your value. And therefore, your identity gets attached to your performance. So if you're not performing, if you're not executing, if you're not excelling, if people are not pleased with you, you immediately feel like you're not worthy enough. You're not doing enough. But who are you outside of all the things that you're doing? Because to be honest, you're more than just your works. Are you coming from a place of purpose, or you come from a place of pressure? When you're worried about how you perform and your identity is connected to your performance, you're coming from a place of pressure, this constant pressure that you feel to keep showing up a certain way. Who are you outside of that? And the one way to figure that out is to explore what your strengths are and your characteristic traits are. Because your strengths and your characteristic traits have nothing to do with your performance. And the way I help clients differentiate the two, your characteristic traits is your who. Who are you? And your strengths are your what. What do you do that shows that you are that person? Now, are examples that you are that person. So here's an example. If one of your characteristic traits is, let's say, friendly, Let's say you identify a characteristic trait as friendly. I'm a friendly person. That's a characteristic trait. A strength would be, well, what do you do that shows that you're a friendly person? Like, what do you do that makes you believe that you're a friendly person? Oh, well, you know what? I create welcoming spaces. People, when people come in spaces or people that are new and don't know, I walk up to them and I introduce myself and I make them feel welcomed. Or I'm able to like make new friends and keep new friends, right? Those are examples of strengths because not everybody's good at that. So that is a strength. That's the way you can figure out that when it comes to who are you outside of your performance. And if you never really ask yourself that question, you might get a little stumped. So identifying your characteristic traits and your strengths is the way to get past that. Here's my final question for you. What responsibilities or responsibility, might just be one, are you carrying that was never yours to carry to begin with? That goes back to the over responsibility. Whose problems have you been trying to fix and solve that was never your problem to fix or solve in the first place? Whose emotions have you been trying to manage that were never your emotions to manage in the first place? This problem has somebody else's name on it. It has that person's name on it, and you added your name on like the problem solving team. Mind you, there never was even a section. There was never a problem solving team section. But not only did you add the problem solving team section, you added your name to that team. And that person never asked for a team to help them solve that problem. Stop carrying responsibility that was never yours to begin with. Now, if you enjoyed this, again, um, subscribe. If you enjoyed this, subscribe. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Share this. If you know somebody that could hear this, share it. Save it if you need to watch this again. And then make sure you follow me on social so we can stay connected. And if you would like to know more, get more clarity on is pleasing my issue, is proving my issue, is perfecting my issue, is over responsibility my issue, like what actually, because they all sound like I'm struggling all of them. If you want to have more clarity on which one really is impacting you, then click the link in the description to take my scorecard. Scale Without Sacrifice scorecard. This scorecard is an assessment. It takes you about 2 to 3 minutes to complete the assessment. And that assessment will help you identify which area, which pattern is the one that's impacting you the most. And then if you choose to, if you want to learn more about, okay, so what do I do next? Like, how do I then figure this out? How do I solve this? What do I do differently? Then you'll have the option to select the option to receive a personal plan that I will give you that will give you specific strategies that you can use to overcome that specific pattern. So that sounds good to you. Click the link in the description to be able to get access to the Scale Without Sacrifice scorecard. Now, this is just the first one. We're going to talk again about burnout. We're going to hit another area next time. So again, subscribe, hit the notification button so you can be notified when I drop the next video regarding burnout. And until I see you again, make sure that you speak life and be unapologetic.